Welcome to the Behind the Bits podcast. Your host, Scott Curtis, wants to learn everything he can about stand-up comedy and take you along for the ride. Scott and his guests talk serious about comedy in every episode. Behind the Bits will uncover knowledge from different perspectives on subjects such as writing and performing stand-up comedy, as well as booking shows and the comedy life. If you're thinking about becoming a stand-up comic, already in the comic game, or a comedy nerd, Behind the Bits is the show for you. Now, let's get Behind the Bits.
All right, Ian Bagg, it is great to have you on the podcast. Holy cow. How's it going?
It's great to be had.
Let me tell you, last week I reached out to probably eight comics to be on the podcast, and you were the first one to get back to me, and I think a total of 2 of 8. But after a couple days, you had been the only one to get back to me, and I'm just thumbing my nose at the rest of them.
We don't need them. We don't need them. We got Bagg. We don't need them. I'm sorry. My dogs are coming in here and they're rattling all around. So I'm trying to make them a little quiet. Apologize. You know what's funny is, I get some and I try to answer all. And I try to just say, if I can do it between this time and that time, I'll do it. So, and you were very easy. You're like, okay. And you dealt with my brain too. Cause it's just, I'd ask the exact same question 3 times. Is it just audio?
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I told you earlier. So thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Yeah. We're all a little screwed up right now. So that's okay.
Yeah. And then I was panicking cause I was like, oh, which email did I tell him to email me? So I was looking and I'm like, oh God.
And of course, I didn't finish sending my email, so there you go. Whatever.
Yeah, good. It's partly you. It's not just me. I love it.
Yeah. I think I got the winner of the stupid contest there. Anyway, so I got introduced to you on Last Comic Standing. You were season 9. And I remember watching that with my wife and just thinking you didn't really care about what the judges thought. You didn't care about what kind of comedy you were supposed to do or anything like that. You just kind of did your thing, and that's kind of why you were one of our favorites.
That's nice.
Yeah, so I thought you were really cool. But what I didn't know is the whole crowd work thing that you do. I mean, you did that a little bit in the show, but not. I mean, you pretty much had to do your act. And the funny thing is I'm on this comedy group that has a bunch of old timers, and we're talking like originals at the Comedy Store, or like Dreesen's in there and stuff like that. And there was a thread about crowd work, and all the old guys were saying, don't do it. And then
all the old guys are just grumpy.
Yeah. But this dude came on and said, well, you got to watch Ian Bagg. He's the master of crowd work. And I went back and watched the specials that I can get on whatever streaming services. And I watched them with my wife. And, as somebody who does comedy myself, when I watch a Netflix special, I don't laugh. I'm just like, oh, that's good. You know how it is. It's good tag. And on that one, I just cracked up, especially the last one you did in 2018, Getting to Know You, I think that was.
No, Getting to Know You was the first one, and the second one was Conversations.
Yeah. That one was just hilarious. So
thanks, man.
Yeah, I really loved it.
Thanks. It means a lot. It's from a comedian to enjoy something. It means more than norms. I don't need those norms tell me they.
Yeah. And that's the way all comics are. They want to make the audience laugh, but if another comic says they're funny, then it's better than getting paid almost.
I've gotten in trouble many times in my career for making the back of the room laugh and forgetting about the audience. Yeah.
So let's go back to the young Ian, because obviously nobody wants to be a comic when they're 10 or 12 years old. But you're growing up in Canada, right?
I grew up in Canada. I grew up in northern British Columbia, a place called Terrace, BC, which is the closest American city is Ketchikan, Alaska.
Okay.
So that's where I grew up. Yeah.
I actually had my uncle was a preacher, and he spent half a year with his family in Newfoundland. They had a house there, and they talked about going to the shore and grabbing the squids that washed ashore and popping their heads off and putting it in a stew. So I don't know if that was true or not, but
I can believe it. The Newfoundland people are very interesting up there. They're very interesting.
Yeah.
They have this thing called screech where you take a swig of 110 proof. I can't remember if it's before you kiss the fish or after you kiss the fish, but there's a fish involved, so they'll put their lips on anything in Newfoundland.
Right. So obviously you had to have been influenced by some comics at some point. What were the first ones that you got into when you were growing up?
My parents had Bill Cosby records, and I loved listening to those just because of the picture he drew, which is I could see everything he was talking about, and I could draw this. I could have this movie going on in my head of what he was talking about. And then Jonathan Winters was another one where I would say I was in my crowd work style was influenced, where I just take something and spin it. He would just they was given one word. He was like a brilliant guy. He was given one word and he'd create a whole story behind it, which is kind of a little bit where I just let my brain go, right? To whatever somebody says. And then Sam Kinison and Eddie Murphy were the tapes I graduated in 87. I'm finally saying how old I am. I don't care. I graduated high school 87, 88. And, when I was about 15, I think that's when Eddie Murphy was huge and Sam was huge, and just the Eddie was just stupid funny. It was just stupid. It was just stupid funny, which I love. Yeah. And then Sam was just like, we're kicking open this door and we're going in there. I don't care. So that's that. So if you take all that, I think that's me. I'm sure there were some others that, influenced me as well, but those were the big ones that influenced me.
So. I get that. I get that from you. And the funny thing is I talked to somebody who used to, he actually roomed with Sam Kinison, and he said everything off stage was actually bigger than what he did on stage. So he was... He was definitely a hard one to handle, and the bigger he got, the harder it was.
No, I think I'm pretty good at reining mine into just while I'm on stage. Of course, I have an imagination. I'm the same person. I am the same person on stage as I am off stage, but I'd say on stage I'm in concentrate. Right. So it's just like a watered down version of me in real life. Yeah. So that's
I get that, because I don't think you could do what you do up there if you were faking it, because your reactions and stuff like that have to be real, because it's real time stuff. It's not stuff that you wrote 6 months ago or a year ago. So
when people ask me about how do you do crowd work, I'm like, don't ask a question if you don't want to hear the answer. You want to hear their answer. If you're asking the question to get to your joke, then that's not crowd work. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's a conversation. It is actual conversation. You have to be curious about what they're saying to you.
Right. The funny thing is early on, I read a comedy book, and they've got a whole chapter on crowd work, and I won't tell you who the author is, but
Shooty.
No. He said that you have to have your answers to the crowd work already rehearsed and ready to go, and be able to plug them in, like horseshoe them in to no matter what the crowd says, because they're funny and you can use them that way.
No, I guess so, but I'll smile politely during that one. Yeah. I would say just make sure you have information. Like, overload yourself on information. So if somebody talks to you about something, you know what they're talking about. You may not be, you're going to be an expert on it, but at least you can keep up the conversation. And don't be afraid to say, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, it's a big listening thing. I mean, you're playing off of what they say. And the funny thing is when you're in a comedy club or you're in a theater or something like that, people say the stupidest things that they would never say in a normal conversation.
I don't know if sometimes if they panic and that comes out of them, or they're just like, feel free. I've always been told I'm able to get people to open up a little more than other people, say things, whether it be off stage or on stage. I can't believe I'm telling you this, it doesn't matter. So I like it, so that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. So obviously you're listening to Eddie Murphy and Kinnison and Cosby and all those folks. But little Ian Bagg wanted to do something else at first. So what did you went to school for something about blowing things up, right?
I was working in a gold mine. I was working for a company, Titan Explosives, and I started out at the bottom. I was 18, 19 years old. When I first graduated from high school, my mom's Australian, and my grandmother had passed away, and my mom had gone, I would say, in the springtime. And then when my sister and me had finished school, we went with my father over to Australia to say goodbye to my grandma. And I stayed in Australia for about another year. So 17 to 18 and a half, 19. So yeah, about 18 years old. I spent a year in Australia just doing random jobs. And like my uncle owned he was an accountant, and he owned a big firm, and they had all sorts of weird clients. And one of the clients they had was a place called Durkin Amusements. And he said, you're going to see Australia. And I said, okay. And he said, I'm putting you with a client, and you're going to see Australia. And I'm like, okay. So he just gives me the address. He stuck me with a carnival. I went and worked with this carnival for 3 months. We did all the big, like the national shows, they were called. We went to Adelaide, Melbourne, Brisbane, and I seen the big cities, and I got to hang out in these cities for 2 weeks at a time. So I was gone for 6 weeks, I think. And I would help put things together when I was just like, I didn't know what I was doing. After doing that, never going to a carnival ride anywhere. People are they don't have anything. So I got to see 3 big cities, and then I came back and I hitchhiked around and seen Australia. And then I said, well, it's time for me to go back to Canada. So I went back to Canada, and after a couple months of living at home, my dad said, you're getting a job, you're paying rent, and you're going to do something, or you're going to school. And I was like, I don't really want to go to school because I know what I want to do. I want to be a comedian, right? And I'm from this small town in the middle of nowhere, and this is 1988, between 87 and 90. This is when this all takes place. So no internet, right? Yeah. No, there's just, how do you become a comedian? I don't know. We're in a logging Indian village in the middle of northern Canada. Nobody's ever done that before. Nobody's got you. Well, you just go down the road, and it's not like, in my head, it's still an Archie comic. I'm walking down the street one day, and some limo goes by and goes, that guy seems funny. Put him in the car. Let's go. So my dad goes get a job. So I get a job at the Titan Explosives, and I start out. The job is a big semi-trailer pulls up, and I unload all the dynamite and put it into a magazine in the middle of nowhere. And then another truck pulls up, and I unload all the dynamite from the magazine into that other truck, and it takes it into the mine. So I do that, and slowly they teach me how to drive the truck. I have to take all these courses for explosives and being safe and stuff like that. And which is funny because the guy that taught me just smoked hash the whole time he was doing it. And then I just kept going up in the company. And then all of a sudden I was working a gold mine. I was just working in a gold mine, probably about 2 hours north of Terrace. And I was at camp and just, a 19-year-old kid. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
They've given me my own pickup truck. I'm in the middle of nowhere. We drink every night and I blow things up. Yeah. It is the military without, there's a chance of dying, but I don't have to fight anybody. Yeah. I don't have to listen. It's just awesome. And I'm just like, and then they say, do you want to go to school? And I'm like, yeah, if I could become the bigwig at this. Yeah. And I'm making stupid money too, by the way. Yeah. Stupid money. So I'm like, okay, so I just come home one day and I'm going to move to Vancouver. I'm going to school. But before I go to school, I want to try to become a comedian. So I go down to Vancouver, me and my buddy Trent, and it takes me another 9 months. I would say 9 months to a year before I hit an open mic. I party my face off, experimenting with lots of drugs and all kinds of things. I finally get the nerve up and I go on this open mic contest at a place called Punchlines in Gastown in Vancouver. And it's a contest and I go on and all my jokes are written on my hand and I'm so nervous they sweat off and I end up doing impressions of fish. I don't win the contest. So I think I'm done. My career is over. So I was just like, oh, well, that was fun. I'm walking away. And as I'm walking away, the manager of the club said, hey, you're really funny. You should come back and do open mic next week. And I'm like, well, I thought I lost. I thought I didn't get to do it. And he was like, no, that's just a contest we had. You can come do open mic. Had he not said anything to me, I would have never gone back. I would have went to school. And so, yeah, just kind of like, that's basically been my career. Just kind of a little bit of luck and a little bit of naivety. Yeah. So it just kind of got me where I should be. So that's how I started doing comedy.
Yeah. How did you get from doing the open mics how did you grow in that to where you could actually make a little bit of money at it?
It was pretty quick. So I'm probably 21 years old at this time, 22. And I just cling on to people like me enough that I cling on and I'm not a pest, but I cling on to the funny guys that are around. And I'm like, can I come with, because it wasn't just clubs. These guys would like travel for hours and go do these shows and stuff. And I would say, can I come for the ride with you and maybe do 5 minutes? And they're like, yeah, sure. Like, cause they go by themselves. So, and I just talk and pick their brain and have a good time with them. And they'd let me do 5 minutes. They'd let me go on 5 minutes. So, and it took about I know this sounds stupid, but I quit the job I was working at about a year into doing stand-up and was making enough money to live. Yeah. And it wasn't much and it wasn't smart, but I didn't know any better. I didn't have anybody to follow in footsteps. It didn't make sense to me. So, I just kept going and, I was doing these, I was just making enough money to live and I didn't come from money. And so I just, was great. I was just having fun. And then I followed my friend Craig Campbell out to the Montreal Comedy Festival and I was just happened to be able to get on. I was just hanging about. And once again, people were like nice to me. And I went on this show at the Comedy Works at maybe midnight or like after midnight. It was all these people. Like Dave Attell was on that show. Colin Quinn was on that show. Like Chris Rock, like tons of people. And I just went on. Somebody was late and Ian, do you want to go on? I'm like, okay. So I go on and I just do well enough that this guy named Lucian Holt sees me. And Lucian was one of the owners of the comic strip in New York. And he came up and gave me a card and he said, if you ever are in New York, I'll put you on stage. So Lou, come here. Lou, come here. We're trying to do an interview. So I'm dumb enough that if you're ever in New York means come to New York.
Yeah, come to New York.
So within 6 months, I moved to New York with $700 in my pocket, and he put me on stage, and I lived in a youth hostel for 4 months. I was paying $14 a night to live at the youth hostel. I would show up at the comic strip and I'd have all these they thought I was the weirdest guy ever because I'd show up with an entourage of different groups every night I went on stage there, and they'd all be from different countries. So one night it'd be all Germans, next night it'd be all Chinese. So like, who is this guy? So, and I was completely illegal, and I was doing stand up. And one night, Lucian said, "Hey, they're doing an audition for Conan, for the Conan O'Brien show, and I can't get you on it. Because I don't think you're quite ready enough. But what I need you to do is go on right before, and you'll be the buffer. Like if they're running late, they won't see you. If they're on time, they will see you. So, and that'll be good for you to be seen." And so I said, okay, I went on and I did it, and they offered me the show.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So I'd like, all right. I was like, this is crazy. So I said, I'm actually not legal. I can't do this show. I need work papers. And they said, we'll help you get the work papers. And they helped me get my work papers. And that's how I became living in America.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a cool story.
It's pretty good. It's got, it's got its up and downs and bumps and bruises, but the shiny parts are really, really shiny.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's really good. So what was the Conan thing like? Obviously that's your first network TV thing. Did you freak out? How did you get your time down and all that kind of stuff?
I used to do, I was one of those guys, again, that when I moved to New York, I'd go on stage all the time. So I was able to do that 5 minutes. And at that time, I think it was about 6 or 7 that you do. And they give you the material, show them the material and they tell you what jokes to do. And they trusted you. And I just did that set over and over for about 3 months while we were waiting for my work papers, and we got them done. And it was, I just remember being so nervous. And my buddy, Tom Papa at the time, I was buddies with Tom Papa. He came with me. But I remember this is, what's so funny about it. So Barry Katz is a big time manager kind of guy, kind of a douche too. Yeah. But anyways, he came up to me and he's like, it's so crazy that this character you do. And I didn't understand what he was talking about because I went on and in what I owned, my best clothes that I owned. So my best clothes at the time were a pair of logging boots, a pair of shorts, and a logging shirt. And I had I looked like I was coming right out of Seattle, the grunge scene. I had the hair and everything, and I went on stage, and they all thought I was doing a character, but that was just me at the time. So just a dumb kid from the middle of nowhere. And I ended up doing Conan about 3 times. In about a year, I did it about 3 times. And then I ended up moving out to LA, and I ended up doing the Craig Ferguson show after that. And they kind of just walked away from me from the Conan show, never used me again. I didn't know that I wasn't smart enough to know that they would be butthurt about it. Yeah. They were. So, the shiny times and then the low times. And then, so I just want to do shows,
Right.
I didn't have any, at the time, I didn't have any great ambitions for sitcoms or anything, or being a writer or anything like that. And everybody else seemed to have that going on. I wanted to be funny. Right. That's all I wanted to be. I didn't understand that there was this ulterior motive for a lot of comedy. Yeah. So my dream when I was a kid was when I'd watch these comedians and they'd go on these shows and they were so funny, and then I would see them on daytime TV doing game shows. So that's, to me, I was just like, that's the career I want. I want to go game shows. I want to do stand up at night. I just want to just do it and do it and do it and just make people laugh and have fun, because they look like they're just hanging with their friends and having so much fun. I just look at that. It's just like, just hang with your buddies. It's awesome.
Wouldn't it be great if Hollywood Squares could have just kept going? I mean,
there's no reason why it shouldn't have.
Yeah, I mean that's such a cool show, and everybody that was ever on it, they talk about. I mean, they just drank the whole time. They even between, because they'd film about 6 or 7 shows a day.
Yeah,
and
that's
in between
what game shows are all about.
They go do shots or whatever, and then come back, and they were in the Bagg for most of it.
Wait until as soon as Netflix starts doing game shows, that's when it's going to get good. As soon as Netflix starts doing game shows. So,
yeah, that's really cool. So let's talk about your act. Was the conversations with the crowd, was that something that you did pretty much from the beginning, or did that come later? How did that work out?
It was from the beginning, but it wasn't. I was at the time, Stephen Wright was huge.
Mm-hmm.
So the way to do it was then I'd have a little bit of a conversation with the audience always. I remember I get in trouble for it all the time. And that's why I liked emceeing the best, because you could do it. Because when you emceed the club, when the MC is a very important job. So when you got to MC, they told you there's 3 things that you had to always ask when you went out of the crowd, and you had to make that crowd feel like it's your house,
right?
You're welcome, and you got to. So you would ask? So who's never been here before?
Mm-hmm.
Who's from out of town, and is anybody celebrating anything?
Yeah.
And guys, you had to work. They made you ask those questions every time. So you had. I started off with having a conversation with the crowd, So, and they were it was a great way of doing it. They really made the MC, if it's going to be a good show, if the MC is good. So the MC is very important. Take this serious.
Yeah.
And I was very serious about it. It was just fun. I remember. Yeah. It was good times. Yeah. So, but I had this kind of deadpan, maybe one-liners, short jokes. I've always been known for doing short jokes.
Mm-hmm.
I can get a lot of jokes into a 5-minute set and stuff like that. I've always been told that. But a little bit of crowd work. But this guy I was very similar to at the time, from Seattle. We became friends, and we'd go to all the shows in Vancouver. He'd come up and he'd stay on my couch all the time, and we'd go out and do it. And his name was Mitch Hedberg. We just kind of we'd run around Vancouver doing all these shows, and he had long hair and I had long hair, and we liked grunge music, and it was just fun. So yeah, he really stuck at that, but we were pretty similar when I first started out. That's why we got along quite well. Mm-hmm. It's funny when you start out, you're like, you're attracted like a magnet to the people that are like you.
Yeah.
And as your career grows, it changes. You're pushed away from the people that are like you.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you hope that you want to be, I guess, as you grow, you want to be really stick out. You don't want to be like anybody else.
You become a brand is what, really what happens is you become more of a brand, and anybody that's like you, it's like, I'm drinking Diet Pepsi. Diet Coke doesn't want to hang out with Diet Pepsi. So, it's kind of, which is sad, but it's the way it is.
I miss starting out and hanging with guys and just having if there's anybody out there that's just starting out, it is really the best time of stand-up is when you're starting out and everybody's confused and asking questions and having fun. And of course, there's always going to be that somebody shoots out quicker than somebody else, but don't worry about it. It's like popcorn. We all pop at different times.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned the art of being an MC, because I had a guest. His name's Garrett Elzinga. He's at the MC for Dr. Grins up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And he's very much like you. He takes it seriously, and he knows that, the MC has to do the 3 things, first time out of town celebrating, and let the crowd do all the talking that they need to do so that when the headliner comes up, they shut up. And it's an art, but a lot of clubs don't really care about it anymore. They don't have a real MC, and they just have whatever person is available, and they don't know how to do it. And then the headliner doesn't get the right crowd warm up that they're supposed to get.
So as a society right now, it's everything that we do, whether it be a farm or, like factory farms or factory comedy or factory, or fast food. We just want the finished product. We don't want to make, the biggest thing I was talking about somebody about this whole pandemic. I hope it changes the way we do things, like the farming comes back.
Yeah.
Like that the love of the land comes back. The love of art comes back. The love of making cars comes back. We don't just do it, and the worker, the Western world worker is more appreciated than just used to get someplace.
Yeah.
So, cause whatever, we don't need to talk about that, but I feel the same way about stand-up sometimes. The show, like the biggest annoyance of a comedy club is actually having to put on the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is like, it's this stupid part, this hour and a half that makes us all our money is the most annoying part of this whole thing. So
all those people, come on.
Yeah.
Why can't they just buy the ticket and stay home?
Yeah. And the comedians said, well, you should know what you're doing. No, you gotta, comedy clubs are they're the minor leagues for the most part. And that's where guys get good, is the minor leagues. And you should be proud of owning a comedy club. And if you create somebody, they'll always come back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
most deaf. Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
And I don't think comedy clubs should ever say to a comedian, when there's two comedy clubs in a town and they say you have to pick between, if you're an MC or a feature, that's the last thing that should be ever said to a comic like that.
Right.
If I owned a comedy club, I'd be like, okay, you're working here this week, so I hope next week you go to another comedy club so you get better.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, no doubt.
Like, get them better, so when they get and the comedy club that says go do more, they're gonna go, I love that guy.
Yeah.
Do more. You know what I mean? So.
That's great. Hey, folks, if you're watching on Facebook Live, thank you for watching. If you want to hear the whole Ian Bagg interview, you need to subscribe to Behind the Bits. We're on all the apps. It's Behind the Bits. Hey, goodbye for now, but Ian's episode will be up soon.
Boom.
Boom.
See you suckers later.
Coming up along the way, did you you talked about hanging out with Tom Papa and Mitch, and did you ever run into any of the old school crowd that kind of helped you along or gave you any tips along the way, or told you don't do that and you still did it anyway?
I was told a lot, don't do that. I was told a lot, and I remember being annoyed because I remember thinking, I'm doing this for me, not you. You know what I mean? Like, just do your own thing. Like I have some people that don't appreciate me, right? That are comics, and we're all going to have that, whatever. But because I don't let my features or MCs sell anything. Because my big thing, I just want to have that time with the crowd, with myself afterwards. I have to sell the tickets to get people in there. Right. I have to deal with if they're not selling tickets. I have to build for the next time I'm coming in there. And I want to be able to do it. And people are like, well, that's just mean. I was like, no, featuring and MCing you're not there for the money. You're there because you want to make the next person not be able to do their job. Yeah. That's the MC does not want to be the feature to be able to follow. The feature does not want the headliner to follow them. I respect somebody if I have to struggle when I first get out there because people are still excited about the last guy. Yeah. I'm way more excited to that than a guy selling t-shirts. You know what I mean? It's just like that because you know what, that guy wants to be a comedian. That's all he's got the drive in him for, to be a comedian. And I totally love that. That's what it is, you know. And you should never rely on somebody else making you money, you know. Like it's I don't know if we're supposed to swear on this or not, but
you can. Yeah.
When the money's shitty, the money is shitty.
Yeah.
When the money's good, you can make a very good living. Like, I don't know where I'd be 10 or 15 years ago if we were going through this now. Like now, you know, like I'm not panicked at all right now because I've been able to save my money. And,
right.
You know, like, so sure, if we're talking next year at this time, I might be a little bit more panicked, but but you know, like but I don't know, you know, like I when guys are features and they talk to me, I'm just like, just become the king of your town. Have a job where you make money, where you don't have to worry about making money doing stand-up. If you're going to grind in your town, grind where people go. That dude's the funniest dude in such and such town. Yeah. And then people will hear about you, and then you'll build your own audience in that crowd, you know, in that town. And you'll build way better if you just, instead of getting stuck in that whole, well, I'm only making $500 this week, but I got to get to that town next week, and that's going to cost me that much money. But no, don't put yourself through that stress. You know, if somebody, like, at some point somebody will see you and they'll take you on tour and they'll pay for your plane ticket, and you'll that $500 will go into your pocket, and that'll be, you know, let it build that way. Don't build it through, because your brain doesn't come up with stuff if you're just worried about money. You know, I mean, I think it's going to work, going and doing different things, going and doing, you know, going out with people and seeing different things. That's what helps you write jokes. That's what makes things different. If you're just doing stand up and worrying and staying in a house smoking pot and worrying about money, you're just you're just talking about that. You know, and we've all seen comedians do that. Yeah.
That's funny. I really, just going back to what you said about feature acts, it's funny because I was in another discussion with people who feature, and there was a whole thread about it. And you know, the basic gist of the thread was, okay, the feature act is supposed to take the audience to a certain level and stop so that the headliner can do it. And this one guy got on, he said, I'm a feature and I go on and I fuck shit up, and I want that headliner to work for it, and I want to be better than them, and I want to take their job. And that's the guy I respected.
That's the guy that's going to get the job too. That's the guy that's going to get the phone call and say, hey, so-and-so missed their plane and we need a headliner for tonight, and you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's great. So
and that's how you become a headliner. You know what I mean? That's people not wanting to follow you is how you become a headliner. Yeah. I remember when I started going out on the road, people didn't want to follow me. People were like, I was just like being told no. I remember getting fired a couple times because there were people like, I'm not working with him. Oh wow. So I was like, what are you gonna do? I was like, then I've been broke many a times, and that's what you do to get to the next level is you take it in the face. So,
So how did the Last Comic Standing thing come about for you?
They'd asked me since year 2 of it, and I'd said no. Okay. And I said no. And then a friend of mine started producing it, and she asked me 3 times, and I said no. And then I said yes, and she quit the show. So it's like, oh, okay. But I really didn't. I didn't even want to do it. Even that year, I didn't want to do it. I remember the day of the first day, my alarm went off. I looked at it and I was like, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to go back. I went back to bed, and my phone rang from my manager, and he said, go to it. I said, you said you're going to do it. You go do it. They want to know where you are. So I went and did it. Yeah. And when I got there, it's funny that you said you didn't seem like you didn't care. The only time I cared was the first show. I just was like, what if I can't get through the first round? That was the only time that I was like, and then after that, I was like, I don't give a shit. Kick me off this show.
but they didn't.
Stupid contest.
Yeah. I mean, it was just so funny to watch you go up there and just like, I don't care. And I'm gonna say my shit. I'm gonna get off the stage and I'm gonna go to the finals. That's just the way it happened for you. So that's crazy.
What's funny is they actually I got my comeuppance, as they said. They disqualified me in the finals.
Oh yeah,
I was disqualified.
Did you not get to go on tour then?
No, I did go on tour, but I was okay. I was number 5, but they didn't let me. They were like, "Nope, you don't get to win."
Yeah,
like you don't get to be first, second. You're disqualified. They want to make sure that happens. I was like,
So did that? Obviously that helps people's career in some way. Do you feel like that if you hadn't done it, things might be better or worse for you?
No, I was actually surprised how great it was. The people that watched it, I grabbed a whole new audience. Like it took me to another level. So had I known that, I wouldn't have been so snobby and done it, So
yeah.
But I just always thought it was a contest, and like I don't really want to get involved in a contest. You're kind of handing it over to other people to judge you, and I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
So I did my first Showtime special before that, and I did my second my second special after that. And had done lots of things. It's just, at the end of the day, stand up, everything you do, nothing's the giant step. It's just another, step. Mm-hmm. So, and then sometimes, the steps are a little nicer than others.
Right. Now you're known for some pretty grueling tours when you can actually tour.
Yeah, I love
it. You love it. Does your wife love it?
She's known nothing but like
okay.
So and she's a very independent person. It was something that I've always been attracted to. So she kind of she doesn't really affect her. I guess every so often when I first go, but like if I have a couple weeks off, when I first go back out, she's like and for myself, when I've been doing a long time, I at the end of something I go So that's what it is. But I come home on Sunday nights and I leave. I come over every week. I come in and out. So that's how our life works.
Right.
I don't stay out for a long period of time. I just go out a lot.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. That's cool. Your writing process, obviously, your stuff pretty much comes from it's your personal stuff. It's stuff that's happened to you and people you've run into and stuff like that. How do you write? I mean, do you have like a writing schedule? Do you just write stuff down as you think of it? How does a joke form for you?
If I've done some writing for other people, so if I am doing some writing for other people, I'll sit down and write out things. As far as writing for me, and it's kind of tough right now because I write on stage. I'll take something and then I'll work it out on stage. So that's usually how I do it. But I have the different ways of writing. So I just kind of my problem with writing is I can watch a comic and go, I can see them sitting at a table coming up with the idea. Like that, it drives me insane when I'm like, you didn't do that. You know what I mean? You didn't do that, or you seen something, and I can see that you sat down and wrote out 50 different ways, and this is the way you decided to. So that drives me nuts. I enjoy I enjoy truth and things. I don't like my comedy. I don't like it being. I can forced comedy. I like it being natural. So
yeah. And coming from a personal place, I do the same thing. It's the only thing you can really be honest on stage with. If it's generic or a story you just made up because you dreamt about it or whatever, it doesn't hit the same because you don't believe in it. And that makes sense to me. Going back to the whole crowd work thing, has that ever backfired on you? Have you ever gotten somebody so pissed off that they came at you or anything?
Yeah, I've had a couple. Yeah, I've had punches thrown. I've had people upset with what I've said. But everybody, it happens to everybody. Gaffigan's a buddy, and I know he's gotten into arguments with people about food, for crap's sake. So, it's just, sometimes there's going to be that person. There's just going to be that person. We don't do stand up for that person.
Right.
We do stand up for the other people that get it.
Yeah.
Stand up's about making somebody laugh at something that they never thought they would. But there's a difference between a person that wants to laugh and a person that wants to be offended.
Right.
I got a perfect example. Like a guy put on my Instagram yesterday, I don't enjoy this kind of comedy. and I put, well, stop and start watching something else. Like, to me, I'm just like, I've never watched something, I don't like this, and then taken the time out to say I don't like it.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm just like, you don't like anything. You are a curmudgeon. You are the person that nothing is pleasurable to. You are the person that complains about something that is given to you. You're the person that complains about something that is made for you. You're like, there's those people out there, and you just can't. And I'm saying, I never not like anything. I hate a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. I hate a lot of stuff, but you know what? I don't take my time out to hate things.
Yeah.
I take my time out to love things. Is what I do.
Yeah.
So, you've got to decide, when you do stand up, how do you live? Like, I was told a long time, if you believe your best reviews, you believe your worst reviews.
Yeah.
So you just go, it is what it is. Yeah. That's what you have to be.
There's no way you can please everybody. And the funny thing is I've watched a lot, since we're quarantined, my wife and I have watched a lot of like Netflix specials and Amazon specials and just comedy specials in general, just to watch them. And I'd say probably 60% we don't get through 10 minutes, and I shut it down.
There's a lot of shit out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, but does that make you write a review for every one of them?
No.
Does that make you like,
I just go on. Yeah.
You just move on. That's what's great about the time we live in. There's so much to watch.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you don't, I just, and not everybody loves strawberry. That's why there's Neapolitan, because some people like chocolate, some people like vanilla, and some people like strawberry. Like you just, and some people like it all. So, but nobody eats the strawberry and then complains about the chocolate, and the people that like just strawberry get just strawberry.
Yeah.
So
the one thing that's frustrating that I've seen is the fact that we do have all this available to us, and say you're coming to South Bend. Obviously somebody's going to buy a ticket. If they don't know you, they've got 100 different YouTube videos they can watch to see what type of comic you are. And if they don't do that and they come in, I didn't know he was going to be like that. I say
that a lot. I'm like, I just like, did you really not check out what I did before you came here? Like seriously. And I don't think you have to. Like, if you have an open mind, you're like, I'm going to see this. If I like it, I like it. If I hate it, I hate it. But I decided to go. But if I'm like, I'm going to put some money down for this, and I want to know what it's all about, I'm going to check it out.
No doubt. Yeah.
I had no idea Corvette only had 2 doors. This disgusts me. That kind of person, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So,
did you ever?
I think a lot of people don't like to take responsibility for themselves. Like,
yeah.
I bought something to something I don't like. My fault. It's your, instead of saying, they say it's your fault instead of theirs.
Yeah, no doubt. Did you ever work with Bob Zaney when you were doing feature stuff?
Once in a while, yeah. We had the same manager for a bit, so I'm pretty sure he at that time he kind of. I'm sure a couple times I'm sure he's said, I don't think we should work together because it's a lot of crowd work but his crowd work's different than mine.
It's different, but I think as far as guys that I know, it's probably the closest to you as anybody I've seen.
Yeah. Well, I would say I'm closer to Jimmy Pardo than him.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny, Bob Zaney, Jimmy Pardo, and Ian Bagg were all represented by the same company at one point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The crowd work triplets. Yeah. That's great.
Well, if you don't like that crowd work, we got this crowd work.
Yeah.
If you don't like this crowd work, we got that crowd work.
This is something I ask everybody. What 3 things do you wish you would have known starting out that you know now?
I wish I had taken a marketing class. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that I was going to have to market myself. It's really one of those things. I know this sounds stupid, but I wish I had taken not so much a film class, but maybe an editing class. So because at the end of the day, you're the only one that's going to sell you. And I don't know if you're anything like me, but I hate selling me.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah.
So if I can do it without having to talk about myself, it's so much better to make something. So that's what I've been doing is learning. Like I work with some guys that help me out now. So with the editing and stuff, but I still try to peek in on their shoulder and stuff like that. Just having, if my parents had lived in Los Angeles, it would have made my life way easier, and they had been in the show business rather than Gary's Auto Supply. It would have been so much different. But no, I don't, there's not much I'd change, I don't know. I think I'm pretty, I don't know if you're allowed to say it. If you are, like, I feel like I'm really, really lucky doing what I do. So I feel like I'm gracious. It's interesting. My wife has decided to print something off right before Come in, say hi to him. Now that you've done it, just come in. Come on. Say hi. I've decided to use the printer right beside you.
Hi there.
Sorry. I thought you were just talking to yourself.
I was just talking to myself. Did you hear that? That's such a loony.
At least you didn't say again.
Again, still. Yeah, I like to think I'm really, really lucky with what I do. Like stand up has brought a lot of things to me that that little kid that we talked about in Terrace, British Columbia would never expect it. You know?
That's great. Before we get off, I wanted to talk a little bit about the first your podcast, Ian Bagg Bought a House. Tell me what that's all about.
I actually just ended that one.
Oh,
that one
you?
Just ended.
Whoops.
Yeah. So, but there's a bunch you can listen to them on. And this is so funny, this whole thing. So me and my wife bought a house in her hometown, and I didn't even want to own a house, like it just, so all of a sudden one day I was like, we should own a house. And she found one, we bought it, and my mother-in-law lives in it now. And we use it as a vacation home. But it's a really nice house, but it needs some work on it. So I was talking to this guy, who he still is, a contractor, and he would show up to my shows all the time. And I started asking him some questions. And he said, he'd tell me about this. And I said, hey, is there any chance you might want to do this as a podcast? Just like talk to me about things I'm doing in my house. And he's like, all right. So we started talking, and it kind of got going quite well. And some people were interested in seeing about it being like an HGTV show. So we did a sizzle. And he went off the deep end and thought we were suddenly in show business. And I had to release him. I had to release him back into the wild, because I was like, look, bud, I've been in stand-up for 22 years. We got a long way to go before we're superstars. Because he suddenly brought in lawyers and stuff. And I was like, I'm out.
Oh, wow.
I mean? Yeah, I am out. So
that's funny.
But what I do now is I do 5 days a week, nightly at 6 p.m. West Coast time. I do a thing called Around the Bag.
That was the next thing I was going to ask about. Yeah.
Which is little game show, little talk show, and also my stand up. It's where I ask three people, one question, and they all answer it at the same time. But then I kind of bounce off them, and as well, I give them points. Yeah. Which mean nothing. So
very,
it's got that
very arbitrary points. Yeah.
Very arbitrary points will mean nothing. It's just fun. And I'm having so much fun with it. And so many people have just like that they want to be on it. So I'm just like, okay. So I was doing it 7 days a week, but I was like, I can't keep up with this. So I just like took it down to 5, and it's letting my brain relax a little bit, having 2 days off a week. So,
right. Yeah, it looks like a good outlet, especially now for both you and your guests, and it's really funny. I watched a few of them before we got started here, and the nickname question was good. I mean, just good stuff in there. So it's
it's just random. It's nice. We've had Gaffigan on. We've had Billy Gardell on. We've had Jeff Dye, Chad Daniels. I got some people that own restaurants, just to give them, because I know they're, stress gives it gets to everybody, and I just want to like people to laugh, and why not bring the audience on and ask them some questions sometimes. So sometimes it's regular people, sometimes it's comedians, so we just have a good time. So I got some big name hockey players on, and I got some baseball guys coming on, so it's gonna be great. It's pretty cool. So
yeah, it's a really neat show. So if folks want to find you on social media and all that, where do we find you?
You can go to my website, which is ianbagg.com, ianbagg.com. But you can go to my things that I like to do. I don't love any of it, to be honest with you. I love the Instagram, Ian Bagg. I enjoy putting up pictures of stupid things, sunsets, from sunsets to my dogs to promotion things. So I put up everything there, and it's not political. I find that that's the best one to be not political on is Instagram. Got my YouTube, which is Ian Bagg Comedy, which is the big thing that I'm pushing during this whole thing. I want to really build up my YouTube following, get people there. It's got clips from shows, and I'll be putting up a whole show after I've finished putting up these clips. Also Pandora and Spotify. Please, that's what's going to keep me alive during this, is people listening to my stuff. So if people could go listen to my stuff on Pandora and Spotify, that would be awesome.
Great. Well, it's been really great having you on, and I think I learned some
Facebook.
stuff.
Facebook.
Facebook. Yeah, that's
Face Weight. Yeah.
What we were on for a while there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really great having you on, and I think I learned a lot, and I really appreciate you taking the time to do this on the Behind the Bits podcast. It's great.
No, I appreciate you being even a little bit curious about me, and I love your love of stand-up. That's what the best part about it is. It's pretty great.
Yeah, you're one of the best ones out there.
Well, thanks, man.